At number 20, we have the Hood. Now, you know what's crazy about the Hood is that it's only one real ability that we're really talking about here when we're talking about the Hood. It is twin pistols, right? Now, when you talk about twin pistols, the way that it can board shake and does so much damage off of that one ability, that's what you really got to give him consideration for. Now, Dormant's Aid is an ability that's pretty decent when utilized because it does give you some free gems and stuff. That's kind of cool too. I'm not really mad at that. But really, it comes down to twin pistols. That ability is better than a bunch of abilities that's sitting on the lower half of the 3 stars. The reason why I sit him at 20 is because even though it's the one ability that he has, it's pretty devastating. With the board shakes, with the damage that it does, it can basically decimate most 3 stars and a good number of 4 stars if you really have him up and functioning at max capacity. That's why he's at number 20. Let's get to number 19. Now, when we talk about Loki sitting at number 19, you talk about a few different things. Now, I know that he doesn't generate a lot of volume as far as like damage is concerned. He really doesn't generate too much, to be honest with you. But he does a couple of things that is very essential to a lot of teams, especially early on. He can actually flip projectiles and strike tiles to go in your favor. That's first and foremost. The other thing that he does is that he does a board shake pretty quickly. 5 purple gems could flip the board around, and just those board shakes alone is worth it. And even if that's not cracking, let's say your team is opponent's team is dotting you up a little bit and they're making 4 matches, it'll throw those and give you some countdown tiles that'll be able to recoup some of your gems that you need in order for you to fire back. For that alone, all 3 of those abilities combined puts him at 19. I know he doesn't do volume, but everything else he does is pretty essential, especially for beginning to mid-grade players. Let's get to 18. I know, I got Wolverine sitting at 18, right? I think he's kind of in the right spot now. I'm not going to discredit the things that he does. The ability to throw those strike tiles out pretty quickly is pretty good. You're going to get good results off of the green gems that you have to use. His healing ability is pretty decent too. If you do have that maxed out, his healing ability is good too. And he could definitely do top end damage. So you got a lot of volume when it comes to Wolverine. It's nothing really wrong with him at all. It's just the reason why I have him at 18 and not higher. I just think the higher characters does things a little bit more efficiently and more effectively, and probably a little bit more quote unquote special now than what you see from Wolverine. But Wolverine is not a bad character. If you have him somewhere in your 11 through 14 bracket, I could definitely see that. But to me, he's just 18. Very good, very useful. Definitely will get a run on a lot of people's teams, especially if you're a strike tile player. Now, I have Blade sitting at 17. Now, you can make a case to kind of rotate Wolverine or Blade, depending on what your play style is. But I do like a few things from him. One, he can actually generate, strike tiles at will. He generates them out pretty quickly, depending on how many reds is on the board. That's kind of a good function. I do like his black ability because you don't have to sacrifice a lot of black to get some decent mid-grade damage. But, really what it comes down to for me is his purple. When you get them purple attack tiles off on the board, man, when you have enough strike tiles and then them attack tiles start coming in, those attack tiles could really be deadly depending on how much strike tiles you put on the board. On his own, I think he is a very good, what I would call a technical style of character. If you utilize him with the right team that can generate strike tiles for you, and there's a lot of characters that could do that, Blade is one of the most beneficial people that you could use that could utilize those strike tiles. We got Hawkeye. He's sitting at number 16. Again, another one of those characters you could make a case to be probably in the 11 through 13 bracket, but I have him at 16. It really comes down to 2 things for me. Because boomerangs, even though you've seen that ability with other characters, most notably Case Bishop, which is a very good ability, by the way, does some pretty decent damage. It's really his full quiver is really what you're banking on. To get those full quiver abilities off really fast with only utilizing 5 blue gems, that is very essential because you can get that ability off really quickly, shoot a lot of different styles of abilities out with those, and really could dot up your opponent fairly quickly. I like that about him. The only thing I don't like is his black. Even though it heals him, it throws some additional pieces to your opponents, which is a little bit detrimental to you. That's the only thing I like that's really like a bad behind him. Everything else is fairly solid about him, but full quiver is the one that is special when it comes to Hawkeye. Let's get to 15. I have Steve Rogers sitting at number 15. You know, it really comes down to this. If you need somebody to do some very decent volume, you have the right one there. He's going to do everything that you want to do right for him. His yellow ability to throw out those projectiles to help you out, those projectiles are pretty strong. It's just a very high number to get to when it comes to those projectiles. That's the reason why I really kind of throw away that ability, because to get to 18 or 19 yellows is a lot. The red ability is very good as well. The ability to throw that much damage and then to be able to recoup those reds is actually pretty good too. His blue ability, as far as like Peacemaker and able to stun, same results you get off the red is pretty good as well. You use it in a stun ability. I like those abilities combined. I just think for me, it's just a high number to get those abilities off, and because it costs a little bit too much, even though you recoup a lot, that's the reason why he's a little bit lower. Outside of that, Steve Rogers would definitely get some run on a lot of people's teams, at least for a period of time, unless you have some more of those top end characters. Now, we have Black Panther sitting at number 14. Let's talk about a few things real quick. Can he give you strike tiles if you're a strike tile player? Check. You'll get that with Battle Plan. Can he give you protect tiles if you need those protections with your team? Check. You'll get that with Defense Grid. I like both of those abilities. Doesn't cost you an awful lot to get both of those off. But really what it comes down to with Black Panther is Rage of the Panther. The team damage that he is able to do is very good. Can really decimate teams pretty fast and in quick succession, especially if you get enough black gems to get it off pretty quickly. The only bad behind it, and the reason why he sits at 14, is that he gives away free gems to the other team that could be used against you. Outside of that, a pretty solid player, good combination of good color schemes, so the color scheme is not going to be super detrimental to you. Can you get a little bit better value off of those color schemes? Perhaps, but I really like those abilities. Very good to have on your team. Now, we have Deadpool sitting at number 13. Some of the things you say about Black Panther is kind of the same things you can say about Deadpool, but here's the thing. I think Deadpool may be able to do it a click better. Here's the reason why. When you talk about a little bit off top, the ability to throw about 3k worth of damage for as little gems that you need to do it is very essential. You can get that ability off pretty fast and do a lot of damage. You just can't finish people off with that particular ability. When you talk about life of the party, you know, that's cool because what it does, it actually allows you to save some other players from getting dotted up. I kind of like that. But really when it comes down to a Deadpool is whales. The team damage that you're able to do off that is very substantial, and if you have enough Deadpool points, if you want to just clear that particular board right off top, you could do that too. That's what you call a special ability, and that's the reason why Deadpool sits at 13. He's a very good character. Now, I have Starlord sitting at 12. I was kind of torn between putting him at 12 or maybe someplace higher. Here's the reason why. When you talk about something good, the ability to generate those charge tiles, which is being more and more utilized in the game, is very essential because he can drop them off pretty quickly. When you talk about the other ability he has and something bad, the ability to either snatch up some strike, tack, or projectiles, or to jack some AP from your opponents, that's a very essential piece too. And then when you talk about a bit of both where it actually gets the board shake off, and able to do some damage, and it does it in columns, which is kind of cool too. So it's a unique style board shake. All three of those abilities are very good, and on top of that, it doesn't take away from your blue or your red that you can utilize too, which a lot of other characters have really good blue abilities and really good red abilities. He is very essential to have on your team, especially if you utilize a lot of green, or if you need somebody to do some team damage. He could do a bit of both. I like him a lot at 12. Man, I have Black Widow sitting at 11. Now, I was really torn about having Black Widow at 11 too, because the same case I can make about Starlord is the same case I can make about Black Widow. I think the only thing about Black Widow that I really like, when you get that sniper rifle ability, that sniper rifle ability does a lot of team damage, and that can rock a lot of low to mid tier players off rip. The only problem with it is it does cost a high amount of green gems to get that off. But just like I said with Starlord, Black Widow has the same ability to do the same thing. And even if you couldn't get that ability off fairly quickly, you have Pistol that actually does his own version of a board shake as well, that you can strategically place on both fronts, which is very essential that you could do damage for both. That's the reason why when you got two versions of a board shake that you could do from a character, plus you can generate gems that you could utilize for yourself or for others, you gotta put them at about 11, maybe higher. But I have Black Widow. Now, you could easily have Starlord or Black Widow in your top 10. I so happen to have Magneto. You wouldn't be wrong, because they kind of do the same thing here. But here's what you got. You got Coercive Field that could definitely throw those projectiles for you, could save you very quickly. You also have Polarizing Force, which what that does, it actually does a unique style board shake where it actually takes the team up tiles, snatches those away, and do a significant amount of damage depending on how much team up tiles is on the board. And if you've been paying attention to the meta lately, it's been a lot of those as of late. The Magnetized Projectiles is another version of a board shake that they have, where for every single swap, it does a lot of damage as well. Because those two different board shakes that are on the board that are both unique, those are very devastating abilities that can wipe off any single person in a heartbeat. Even though it doesn't do team damage per se, it does very unique single person damage, and for that, Magneto is sitting at number 10. Now, we have Thor sitting at number 9, and he's just as official as he's been before. No changes or anything. Molinor's Knight still going to be able to generate the yellows that you need in order to help his yellow ability. His yellow ability with Thunderstrike is going to be able to generate the greens that you need to generate his big ability, which is Call of the Storm, which does team damage. Even though it hits the first person stronger than the other two, it still does a significant amount of team damage as well. The reason why he sits at 9 is simply because it's the only character that I still see that could definitely help himself as well as help others. Each ability that is featured here helps himself immensely. He doesn't require anybody else or anything else to allow him to cook. For that alone, the way that they structure the character is very unique, and that's the reason why he sits at 9. Could be higher on some lists because he was higher on my list before, but I definitely have him at 9 currently, only because the other characters ahead of him I think is a click better than what Thor is now. I have Kamala Khan sitting at number 8. I know what everybody thinks about Kamala Khan. They think of him big and bash because it only takes 12 green to do the type of damage that it does, and there's no other retaliatory or no other like repercussions that happen against that. That's a great ability in its own self. Inhuman Stretches is pretty unique as well because you could put that on any gem and match it up, so you could uniquely create a cascade of 4s or 5s if necessary. If even though it's at random, you have the ability to do as such if you're placing it the right way. But really what it comes down to is that the healing ability is pretty unique. Anytime an ally fires a power, you get healed. That allows your team to stay on its feet for a long time. And it doesn't just do a healing just for one person, it does healing for the whole team. And because of that alone, that healing ability, that's the reason why you see Kamala Khan feature on a lot of different teams, as well as the team damage, which is very special. And in human stretchiness is a good green generator as well. Now, I have Scarlet Witch sitting at number 7. You know, you have a couple of good things working for her. You know, you got the arcane implosion, which can actually generate the purple gems that you need to get off Reality Crush. We'll talk about Reality Crush in a second. But you also have Hexbolt, which to me is not like a super special ability, but that ability in itself can uniquely cascade the board and board shake it a little bit. And you know how your boy like board shakes, right? I'm cool with Hexbolt, but really what it comes down to is Reality Crush. Reality Crush is just a souped up version of what you see with the 2-star Storm, Windstorm ability, whereas Reality Crush is a better version. Team damage, stuns a player, knocks them out for a period of time. I like it a lot. It has a lot of volume off of team damage, and because it's sitting on a purple and not a blue ability or a green ability, it's super essential. So if you needed to pair her up, you could pair Scarlet Witch up with just about anybody, and that ability alone will make sure that your team is effective. I got Luke Cage sitting at number 6. Now, he could throw a projectile out there off rip that will protect you against match damage pretty decently right off rip. That's one thing off top that I really like about him. But let's talk about the 2 other abilities. Jab, Drop, Cross for 1. 6 black gems get you a hit. Gives you a 4 countdown tile that gives you ability to actually throw some significant amount of damage. If you get another 6 black gems, that's pretty effective because you can really dot up a person really fast based on that ability alone. And then when you talk about Righteous Uppercut, the amount of volume that you could get off of Righteous Uppercut, you could effectively damage any single person off of either one of those 2 abilities alone. Jab, Jab, Cross, or Righteous Uppercut. 2 really unique abilities to Luke Cage and very devastating to say the least. And even with the projectile there, that's fairly unique as well. I really like Luke Cage sitting at number 6 here. Man, I got Thanos sitting at number 5. You could have him as high as number 1, and I really wouldn't be mad because considering he has every bit of the making to be a top tier, top star, 3-star character, no question. You know, his green ability, even though it's based upon a countdown tile, when it triggers off, it does some pretty decent top end team damage to a team. Now, with the other purple ability where it actually ramps up the match damage that you have, that's pretty cool too. But really what it comes down to, like always, is court death. When you knock down one of your enemies, the other 2 takes a real significant damage hit to the tune of maybe up to like 4K or so. That could effectively knock off a team. The only thing that is bad about court death is that it does damage to your own players. If it didn't do damage to your own team, then he would be a number 1 character, no question. But because of that, I have him sitting at 5. I have Doctor Strange sitting at number 4. You know, Doctor Strange is very, very, very good. His stun ability with Crimson Band is really good. Stun for a good 3 to 4, and actually does the damage against a character off of a countdown tile. I like that. That's actually pretty good. Ire Argamato, the ability to wipe off any invisibility tap or strike tiles or protect tiles, that's good too. But really what it comes down to is Flames of the Fault Line. When it comes to that ability alone, anytime an opponent drops an ability or a countdown tile, the retaliatory damage that Doctor Strange kicks back can decimate teams pretty quickly. Because of that, it is very unique. You can run through any type of story mode super fast based upon Doctor Strange. Won't do any damage to your team, so there's no negative effects. That's the only reason why I have him ahead of I have Doctor Strange ahead of Thanos, is because he doesn't do any damage to your team and he's just as effective. That's the reason why I have him at number 4. Could be higher, as high as 1. has Cyclops sitting at number 3. And the reason why I have him sitting at number 3 is simply this. He does so much volume extremely fast, and he really doesn't need much to do this. His yellow ability, the ability to drop red gems on top of team up tiles, is a unique version of a board shake, which that helps you get off Optic Blast. When you have Optic Blast, it actually is another version of a board shake, which takes out a row and actually does up to 4K or 4800 worth of damage. Then if you go full blast, if you have more than 10 red gems on the board, the amount of damage that you can do off that, upwards of like 8K when you have them maxed out, maybe a click better. Just the magnitude of those abilities alone, where he really doesn't need anybody else to cook, and the amount of volume that he does, you really have no choice to really put him in the top 3, maybe even as high as 2. I have Iron Man at 2. I was tempted to flip-flop Cyclops and Iron Man 2 or 3, but I have Iron Man at 2. Really what it comes down to is this. You can still get the high volume off of his red ability off top. His red ability generates a lot of damage really fast, no problem at all. His blue ability, Salvo, could definitely do a decent amount of team damage. The only thing I don't like about either one of those two is kind of strips away AP from me that you're going to need down the line. But really what makes him super effective, for 6 yellows to be able to drop in 3 countdown tiles that be able to ramp up your AP really fast in multiple colors, for that alone, it can help you get your abilities off much faster, especially if you can keep those countdown tiles alive. Man, the amount of AP that you can get, and then if you have it utilized, when you have a rainbow of characters that utilize those gems pretty quickly, you can be really, really, really effective with Iron Man. That's the reason why I have him at number 2. I have Iron Fist sitting at number 1. Not for anything else, it's just because of how fast he can ramp up and help anybody at any point in time. Iron Fist to Kung Lung, to be able to generate black gems based upon 5 purples, is pretty devastating, because he can get them out pretty fast. And if you so happen to capture 12 of those black gems, you know the Iron Fist of Kung Lung can turn around and do about 4K worth of damage per 5 purples. That's crazy. You could decimate teams quickly just off that ability alone. And then never mind the fact that you can get some strike tiles off of his green ability. And never mind the fact that you get an attack tile off rip when you actually get enough black gems. Those in itself makes him the most devastating of characters, because of how quickly he can operate, quicker than most of the other characters in the game. And he can help a lot of other characters that utilize black gems. That's why he's number 1. Alright, y'all. There you have it. We have the list down. Top 3 stars for Marvel Puzzle Quest. Man, y'all tell me what y'all think. Do y'all like the list? Do y'all not like the list? What are some of the things that you would change? I know it's not a fluid list. I know there's a lot of questions that y'all may have in regards to the list. So I'm definitely willing to listen and entertain all the questions that comes along with it. And coming up soon, we're going to get back at it. We're going to get back at some regular gameplay, some character breakdowns, some other things in regards to Marvel Puzzle Quest. That's what we're working on next. Then thereafter, some other projects I'm working on for some other games. So if there's some other games that y'all want to take a look at and see, y'all want to see y'all boy rock with, y'all want to see me rock some Fortnite or some XCOM, you know, throw some of those titles out there. Leave them in my comment section below, and we'll definitely make sure we get to them. Y'all know who I am. I'm Mr. True Indeed, of course. Y'all know who I represent. It's the Holy Circle Gaming. You know, like always, is God above everything. Till the next time, family, we do it again soon. Salute.